Hello guys, welcome to the course P block elements. We are discussing the group 15 elements, and today the topic that we will be discussing is going to be the oxidation states. Now if you have seen or noticed the length of this lecture, this is approximately a 1 hour lecture, and you must be wondering what is ma'am going to teach you in 1 hour. Well, not only that we will be discussing today about the oxidation states of the group 15 elements, we are going to discuss very important thing in relation to the oxidation states, and that is going to be the inert pair effect. I am sure that you will not have understood inert pair effect in this way earlier. All right, so I have given a detailed discussion of the inert pair effect so that you understand the concept and then you can remember it very easily. Along with that, in the oxidation states is also going to be important disproportionation reactions. So here I'm going to give you what are disproportionation reactions, and even I'm going to give you a trick to remember these disproportionation reactions. So that is also going to be very important for you. At the end of the lectures, we are always putting up lecture review questions where we are giving up the questions which are coming in the various competitive examination, the questions from the NCERT exemplar book, so that you can prepare your very best for your examination. So there is going to be a lot that is happening in this lecture. So please do watch it till the end. I am Dr. Ritu Johar, your educator from the channel H2O, the A to Z of chemistry, and I hope you're going to enjoy your learning with me. So let's begin the discussion. Now, before we begin with a detailed discussion on the oxidation states of the group 15 elements, it should be first of all very clear to you what do we mean by oxidation state. So oxidation state we calculate for a particular element in a compound or a particular atom in a molecule, and this is going to be defined as the charge present on the atom when all the attached atoms are removed from it. What do I mean by that? Let us take an example of the ammonia molecule. So we want to calculate the oxidation state of nitrogen in ammonia. So what we do is write down the structure for ammonia. All right, so this is the Lewis structure for ammonia. And now in this, what we are going to do is we will be removing all the attached atoms from nitrogen to find out its oxidation state. So each hydrogen atom will be having a +1 oxidation state. So when we are going to remove +1 from here, what will be the charge left behind on nitrogen? It will be -1, because as a whole the molecule is going to be neutral. Right, so when this goes out, what is going to be left behind is -1 oxidation state on nitrogen. Similarly, this hydrogen goes to -2 and this goes, it is going to be -3. So this is going to be the oxidation state of nitrogen in ammonia, -3. And you know how to do it mathematically also. You have learned that in class 11. So we have to find out the oxidation state of nitrogen. We write that at X. We are going to add up the other atoms multiplied by their oxidation state. So here we have hydrogen. They are 3 in number and the oxidation state is +1. Right? And this as a whole, the molecule is neutral. So this is going to be equal to 0. So X plus 3 is 0. And if we solve it, the X is going to be -3. And we calculate the oxidation state of nitrogen to be -3. So all the oxidation states, I hope you know how to calculate. It is not going to be a difficult task. So now you understand what is oxidation state. Now, how is an oxidation state different from valency that you have learned in your junior classes? So valency is what we define as the measure of the combining power with the other atoms when it forms chemical compounds or molecules. So essentially you can see over here that the oxidation state is also representing the same thing. It is the combining capacity of nitrogen with the other atoms in a molecular compound. So how are they two different? What you have to remember is when you calculate the valency, what you do is that the valency of an element in a group is going to be equal to n. If n is going to be less than equal to 4, or the valency is going to be equal to n minus 8 if n is going to be greater than equal to 4, where n is going to be the number of valence electrons, right? So for example, now if we have to calculate the valency of nitrogen in ammonia, so nitrogen, this has 5 valence electrons, which is greater than 4. So what you will be doing is 5 minus 8, that will come up to -3. So the valency of nitrogen also here is -3 and the oxidation state is also -3. So why did we give it two names? Well, we gave it two names because valency of an element is always going to be a single valency. As you see, for nitrogen, the valency is going to be -3. Okay. But when we talk about the oxidation numbers, they can be more than one. Okay, so it is going to be the charge which will be present on the atom when all atoms are removed from it, and therefore we name it a different way, oxidation states. Okay, so when it is going to be just one, that will be N-8 for nitrogen. We can call that as the valency also, but we see for nitrogen an oxidation state of -3 to +5. And there are so many possible oxidation states for nitrogen, which you are going to just now learn in this lecture. So that is why the new name was given oxidation state, which is going to be different from valency. Essentially, both are expressing the combining capacity of the particular element in a compound. Okay, so I hope you now understand that valency was a term which was introduced earlier. And when the scientists came to know about other combining capacities of the element, they coined a new term that is called as oxidation state. Now we come up to the oxidation states for the group 15 elements. So the group 15 elements, they have a valence shell which consists of 5 electrons with the general electronic configuration of ns2np3. So what we have studied initially is that all the elements, they try to attain the nearest noble gas configuration. They can do that by losing electrons, they can do that by gaining electrons, they can do that by sharing of electrons, but they try to attain a nearest noble gas configuration. In accordance with that, what we can understand is that they can have a maximum oxidation state of +5 by losing all the 5 valence electrons. They can have a minimum oxidation state of -3 by gaining 3 electrons to attain the nearest noble gas configuration. So what we can understand is that they have various oxidation states from +5 to -3 or -3 to +5. Right, so it is not only these two oxidation states that they will be showing, they show variable oxidation states, but they range from -3 to +5. Not more than that, not less than that is possible. Okay, now the most common oxidation states which they will be showing is going to be -3, +3 and +5. Why it is happening, so I am going to just now explain you that also, but these are the most common oxidation states, although other oxidation states also we do see for them. So now let us talk about the negative oxidation states. So what I've told you is that the range of oxidation states is going to be -3 to +5. So the negative oxidation states possible are -3, -2 and -1. But the most common, I've already told you, is going to be -3. Now, why -3 is the most common oxidation state from the negative ones is because the elements of the group 15, they have 5 electrons in their valence shell with the general electronic configuration of ns2np3. If they gain the 3 electrons, they will be attaining the nearest noble gas configuration and hence the -3 oxidation state. So gaining 3 electrons is going to give them the nearest noble gas configuration. So the negative oxidation state, which is most common, is going to be -3. But now there is another problem over here. Problem is that the gaining of 3 electrons to form the M3 ion is energetically not favorable. Why it is not favorable? Because we require a large amount of energy to be given to the atom so that it can gain 3 electrons and form M3 negative ion. When 1 electron is going to be entering in to the neutral atom to form M negative, right? So we form first M electron plus forming M negative. So here we are going to be seeing that the energy is going to be released in the formation of M negative. But then we have to add another electron. So here the electron gain enthalpy value becomes positive. We have to supply energy to make it M minus 2, and then we have to supply more energy to make it M minus 3. Okay, why is it so? Because here, first of all, it was a neutral atom. It allowed the entering of an electron. But now the number of electrons has become high, right? So these are going to repel the incoming electron, and then it is going to be still more high, and this will be repelling the electron further. So we will have to force that incoming in electron by supplying energy. and therefore the gaining of 3 electrons is energetically not favorable. We have to supply a large amount of energy to convert a neutral atom into M3 negative. Okay, where is it going to be now possible that we will be seeing a -3 oxidation state? It will be when the elements, they will be combining with the elements which are going to be less electronegative than them. Okay, now in the case of nitrogen, we all know that nitrogen is the smallest of all the group 15 elements. This is going to be the most electronegative element also. This will be having high ionization enthalpy also, and it is going to be having a highest effective nuclear charge in case all of them, because it has the smallest size. Okay, so what we find is that nitrogen, because of all these factors, this has a tendency to gain 3 electrons and form the nitrides like magnesium nitride, calcium nitride, lithium nitride, and so on. So nitrogen, being the smallest, most electronegative element, this has a tendency to gain the 3 electrons and form the nitrides. Now, what about the other elements apart from nitrogen? The other elements of this group, they also exhibit the oxidation state of -3 when they will be combining with metals, because the metals, they have very low electronegativity values, and here they will be forming covalent compounds like we will be having calcium phosphide, sodium arsenide, etc. Okay. And all the group 15 elements, when they will be combining with hydrogen, they will be forming hydrides, where they will be showing the -3 oxidation state, like we have ammonia, we have phosphine, PH3 is called as phosphine. Then we have arsenic hydride, we have antimony hydride, we have bismuth hydride also. Okay, so all the group 15 elements, when they will be combining with hydrogen, they will be forming hydrides, which they will be showing a -3 oxidation state. So all of these elements, they can show -3 oxidation state, but the tendency to exhibit the oxidation state of -3, this is going to decrease down the group. Why is it going to decrease down the group? Because there is going to be an increase in size, there is going to be an increase in the metallic character, and when the metallic character increases, there is a less tendency to gain electrons and more tendency to lose electrons, right? So as the size is going to increase, the ionization enthalpy values, they decrease. So the losing of electrons, that becomes easy, the gaining of electrons, that becomes difficult, and what we find is the tendency of the elements to show -3 oxidation state. This is going to decrease down the group. Okay, I hope this is clear. And bismuth, this is going to hardly if any found compounds with -3 oxidation state. Now, as I've already told you that along with -3 oxidation state, -2 and -1 oxidation states are possible. So where are they possible? Let us understand that. So in addition to the -3 oxidation state, nitrogen and phosphorus only, please do remember, not the other ones. Nitrogen and phosphorus only exhibit the oxidation state of -2. In hydrazine, that is NH2, NH2. So here nitrogen is having a -2 oxidation state. How do you calculate it? We have 2 nitrogen atoms, so it is going to be 2 into X. That is going to be 4 hydrogen atoms with a +1 oxidation state, and this is a neutral molecule, so it is going to be 0. So 2x plus 4 is going to be equal to 0, and therefore X is going to be equal to -2. Similarly, in diphosphine, it is also P2H4. So here phosphorus will be having an oxidation state of -2. And then nitrogen also shows a -1 oxidation state in hydroxylamine. The formula is NH2OH, whereas phosphorus does not. So -2 oxidation state you are seeing in nitrogen and phosphorus. Nitrogen is the smallest in size. Phosphorus is a little bit more than that, right? And both of them, therefore, they will be having more electronegativity values in comparison to the rest of the elements. So what we see is -2 oxidation state in nitrogen and phosphorus, and nitrogen being the smallest, having the highest electronegativity value, we see even a -1 oxidation state for nitrogen, and not for the rest of them. So -3 is going to be shown by all of them, but the tendency decreases down the group. -2 is going to be shown by only nitrogen and phosphorus, and -1 only by nitrogen. Okay, now then we will be talking about the positive oxidation states, but before that I have not written that down. Zero oxidation state. So zero oxidation state you have already learned in class 11. When an element is present in its elemental form, the oxidation state is going to be zero. So nitrogen is going to exist as N2. So here that will be having oxidation state of zero. All phosphorus, arsenic and antimony, they exist as tetrahedral structures. So it is going to be P4, AS4 and antimony, Sb4. So here again in the elemental state they will be having zero oxidation state, and bismuth is a metal. So we do not write any 2, 3, 4 along with that. So bismuth will be just represented by the symbol Bi only, and there it will be having the oxidation state of zero when we are going to talk about the elements in their elemental state. Okay, so I hope that is clear. So now let us talk about the positive oxidation states. So now the positive oxidation states, these will be shown by the group 15 elements when they will be combining with an element which is going to be more electronegative than them. Okay, and the most common oxidation states that we will be seeing are going to be +3 and +5 oxidation states, although +1, +2 and +4 are also going to be possible, as I will be just now telling you. Now why are +3 and +5 oxidation states more common? Let me explain you that. We have the configuration NS2NP3, right? So if these 3 electrons they are lost, or they participate in bond formation, I would say better it would be that we say that these 3 electrons of the p orbitals, they participate in bond formation, then the oxidation state is going to be +3. Okay, and when these two also participate in bond formation, so it will be another +2. So +2 and +3 is going to be +5. So the common oxidation states are going to be +3 and +5. Now very importantly, what you have to remember is, just let me clear this. Right. So most importantly, what you have to remember is that as we are going to go down the group, the stability of the +5 oxidation compounds, that is going to decrease, whereas the +5 oxidation state in the compounds is going to increase. Why is it so? That is because of the inert pair effect. Now, what is inert pair effect? You should have a clear understanding of this. I do not know whether you have understood it when you were in class 11 or not. So I'm going to explain you now in detail. We talked about it a little bit when I was telling you about the metallic properties also for these elements, but now let us just describe that in detail because it is important throughout your whole study of the p block elements. Okay, so first of all, what do we mean by the inert pair effect? So inert pair effect means that when all the p electrons they are lost, the element is remainingly having ns2 configuration, right? And this ns2 configuration, this behaves as a stable noble gas element, and it does not participate in chemical combination. So inert is not participating in chemical combination. This is similar to the inert gases, right? They also do not want to participate in chemical combination. Similarly, these elements also, when they are having ns2 configuration, they do not want to participate in bond formation because ns2 is again a completely filled orbital. So this completely filled orbital does not want to participate. When this does not want to participate, this pair of electrons is behaving like an inert gas, and therefore we call it as the inert pair effect. Now where do we see this inert pair effect? We see this inert pair effect lower down the group elements. Okay, so as we are going to go down the group, we see very commonly the inert pair effect. That is why we are saying that the +5 oxidation state tendency stability is going to decrease down the group, and the +3 oxidation states is what we will be seeing for the lower elements like antimony and bismuth. Okay, now I will be explaining you that in detail. Why is this happening also? Because you should have a clear understanding of all the concepts. But before that, just one more thing that I want you to remember over here is that here we are saying +5 oxidation state. So +5 oxidation state, there are two possibilities. One is that they lose 5 electrons, and the other is they participate in covalent bond formation by sharing of electrons, right? So what we see is again that losing 5 electrons is going to be energically not feasible. Just like gaining 3 electrons is difficult, even losing 5 electrons is going to be difficult. So the +5 oxidation state is not going to be shown as an ionic compound. In all the +5 oxidation states, we will be seeing that the compounds formed are going to be covalent compounds. For example, we have PF5, antimony fluoride. So all of these compounds, they are going to be covalent compounds, not ionic compounds. Okay, I hope this is clear. So now let us understand what do we mean by the inert pair effect. How does it play a role in the formation of various compounds? Why the +3 oxidation state is going to be more stable down the group and +5 oxidation stable is going to be less stable down the group. All right. So here what I'm going to do is I will be taking you back to the lectures of chemical bonding, where in the valence bond theory you understood how the chemical bonds are forming. There you have studied that the hydrogen molecule H2 forms, whereas He2 helium does not form. So the diagram I am taking over here is of the helium molecule. I could have taken it for the hydrogen also, because what I am going to take you from this position is to the formation of the compounds of the group 15 elements. All right. So here what you can see is that we have two isolated atoms of helium, and in that you understood that there are going to be forces of attraction also, and there are going to be forces of repulsion also. Attraction is going to be between the nucleus and the electron, nucleus and this electron, nucleus and this electron, nucleus and this electron, and the forces of repulsion are between the electrons. Right, I hope this is clear. And then what happens is when these two atoms, they are going to approach each other, there are going to be new forces of attraction developing, there are going to be the new forces of repulsion developing. The new forces of attraction are between this nucleus of the second atom for the electrons of the first, similarly the nucleus of the first towards the electrons of the second, and the forces of repulsion are between the two nucleus of the two atoms, and the forces of repulsion are also going to be taking place between the electrons. Okay, so electrons negatively charged, they repel each other. Nucleus positively charged, they repel each other, and then a positive and a negative charge are going to be there, they are going to be attracting each other. So this is what you understand. Okay, so I will take this example and then explain you what is happening in case of the group 15 element compounds and how the inert pair effect takes place. So now let us understand this inert pair effect with the help of these same diagrams. But what we will be doing is modifying these diagrams into the group 15 element diagrams. And for that, what I have to do, first of all, the nitrogen family, they have the outer electronic configuration as ns2np3. So rather than 2 electrons, I will be needing how many? 5 electrons in the valence shell. So let us make 5 electrons over here. Okay, and when I make 5 electrons, this means the nucleus is going to be attracted to these 5 electrons, right? And these 5 electrons, they are also repelling each other. But along with that, now there are going to be more orbits also present. If I talk about the group 15 elements, let us write down their electronic configuration. Okay, let us take the example of phosphorus. So in phosphorus, what is the electronic configuration for the valence shell? It is 3s2 3p3, and also do remember that there is 3d orbitals also present for phosphorus. Also for arsenic, antimony and bismuth, all of them, they will be having vacant d orbitals. Okay, I have not taken the example of nitrogen because nitrogen does not have vacant d orbitals, so we will come back to nitrogen after that. So we take the example of phosphorus. So this make this molecule a model of, to make this diagram a model of phosphorus, what I will have to do is insert into it 2 more shells, right? Because the valence shell is the third orbit. So this is going to be my 1s2. I'm not writing down the electrons into it because it's going to be very difficult for me, but it is going to be 2s2 2p6, and then it is going to be 3s2 3p3. Is it clear? Okay, so now in between the nucleus and the electrons, there are more electrons present, and these electrons do what? These electrons, they are also being attracted to the nucleus, but they are repelling the valence shell electrons, and this is what we know as the screening effect or the shielding effect. Right? I hope you all know very well about the screening effect or the shielding effect. In case you do not understand it, well, you can watch my lectures from the chemical bonding not chemical bonding, periodic classification, and there you will be finding a lecture on screening effect also. To have a clear understanding, you can watch that. There are going to be so many diagrams and a detailed understanding over there. But what grossly we are talking about is that the outermost electrons, they are getting attracted to the nucleus, but in between there are more electrons present. More electron means more negative charges, so negative charges, they will be repelling each other, and this is what we mean as the shielding effect. It is shielding the nucleus or exerting the effect on the outermost electrons. Okay, and the shielding effect or the screening effect of the s orbital electrons is going to be the maximum. Then it is going to be p, and then it is going to be d, and the poorest shielding effect is going to be shown by the f orbital electrons. Right now, in case of phosphorus, what is happening over here is in between the nucleus and the valence shell, we have which type of electrons? The s orbital electrons and the p orbital electrons. And both of them, because they are the first in number in case of the screening effect, so they are going to have a good screening effect. A good screening effect means what? A good screening effect means that these electrons, they are going to repel the outermost electrons. Okay. Now we have phosphorus where we have 3s2. If I just make the orbital diagrams, so we will be having 2 electrons in 3s and one electron each in the 3p orbitals, and then we will also be having the d orbitals which will be vacant. Okay, I am not drawn that because my diagram space is less. So I hope you now understand that this is what is happening. So now these electrons, they are being repelled by the inner electrons, which are the 1s2, 2s2 and 2p6 electrons. They are being repelled. So when they are being repelled, understand that this atom is going to form a bond with this atom. It can be any atom. I'm not specifying over here which atom, but it is forming a bond with this atom. When it is going to form a bond with this atom, these atom is going to come closer like this. Okay, so now the nucleus is attracting the other atom's electrons also, but these electrons of its own atom, they are going to repel them. Okay, but when I talk about the 1s orbital and the 2s2 and the 2p6 orbitals, right, when I'm talking about these, they are also going to repel the other atom's electrons. But before they do that, they are repelling their own valence shell electrons. So the 1s, 2s, 2p6 electrons, they are having the maximum repulsion for which electrons? Its own valence shell electrons. And nearest to all these three is going to be which electrons? They will be the 3s orbital electrons. So they are going to be closest, right? So this is 1s, this is going to be 2s, then it is 2p, and then we have 3s, and then we have 3p, and then we have 3d also. Okay, so this is going to be, these three, they are repelling the 3s electrons the maximum. Then it will be the 3p, 3 electrons that they will be repelling. So when this repulsion is felt by the 3s electrons, what will happen is that they will say that we are having so much of repulsion from inside. So what do we do? So he's one of the electrons say, what I will do is I will go somewhere else. You sit here and relax. The repulsion for you is going to decrease because I am also an electron. You are also an electron. So we both are already negatively charged, and these inner electrons, they are also repelling us. So that is what I can do. I will go into some other place. And yes, this electron has some other place, that is going to be the 3d orbital. So what happens is this 3s electron, this shifts into the 3d orbital. And when this does, we will be having 5 half-filled orbitals which can participate in bond formation, and therefore the oxidation state that is going to be +5. Okay, I hope this is clear. This is how we have the +5 oxidation state because of the repulsion of the inner electrons, that is the s and the p electrons of one orbital and the second orbital. Sorry, the first cell and the second shell. That is why these 3s electrons, they are feeling that repulsion so much, and that is why one of them shifts into the 3d orbital. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now in case we move on to, let me clear off all this. Now understand the same thing happening in case of bismuth. So in the case of bismuth now, I'll just draw it separately only, that we have the nucleus of bismuth. Okay. And then I just move on to these ones. So the outermost, they are going to be 6s. Let us make this as a 6p, and then we make it as a 6d. Okay. And then in between, the nearest to this, they are going to be s, they will be p, first shell, second shell, third shell, fourth shell, fifth shell, all the electrons they are present, but the nearest to the 6s now. So this is our 6-2, right? So now the nearest to this is going to be what? It is going to be 5d and 4f. Okay. Now when the repulsions, they are going to start, it is the 4f and the 5d which are repelling the 6s orbitals. But you know that the screening effect of this, or the repulsions of the 4f and the 5d electrons, is not going to be much for the 6s orbital electrons. So that is why it sits in its place. It is not being repelled much, so it wants to sit in its place. It does not want to leave its place and move into the 6d orbitals. And that is why we see the +3 oxidation state. So these electrons, they are acting inert. They do not want to participate in bond formation because now they are not feeling that repulsion to go out. Okay, I hope this is clear. In case of phosphorus, what you saw was that the repulsion from the inner orbitals electrons was more. That is why the 3s2 electron moved from its place to the 3d orbital. But in case of bismuth, even in case of antimony, you can now understand that the orbital electrons which are repelling are the d and the f orbital electrons, which are not very good at repelling. Therefore, the 6s orbital electrons, they are wanting to remain in place. Okay, so they do not want to participate in bond formation. They are not going to move into the 6d orbital. Okay, I hope this is clear, and that is why we see these elements to be having a +3 oxidation state, being more favorable than the +5 oxidation state. But just remember, there is one case when the coming atom, this is going to be highly electronegative. For example, we have to make the compound bismuth fluoride. So in case of bismuth fluoride, what do you see is that the fluoride atom, you know that this is going to be the most electronegative atom. So when this fluoride atoms comes to form a bond with bismuth, well, this is very electronegative. So it has a electron pulling tendency. So what it does, this makes the bismuth atoms 6s electron also to move to the 6d orbital. Okay, so now this is forcing, no, come out, I want to make a bond. So this makes it move to the 6d orbital, and hence we see the +5 oxidation state for bismuth in bismuth fluoride. Okay, so in general what we have is that the upper elements, they will be showing a +5 oxidation state to be more stable because they are feeling the repulsion from inside. The lower elements, they are not feeling that much of a repulsion, so they are going to be forming more of the compounds which are of the +3 oxidation state. The +3 oxidation state is more stable. Okay, I hope this is clear. Good. So let us now quickly discuss the positive oxidation states. Now it is not going to be very difficult for you people to understand. Nitrogen, first of all, it does not show the oxidation state +5 because it does not have vacant d orbital. So if it is having repulsions from inside, then also it is not going to be affected by it because it does not have a home to go to. It does not have a d orbital where it can take its electron. Okay, so nitrogen does not show a oxidation state of +5. The maximum covalency of nitrogen is going to be always +4. Okay, so nitrogen can show a maximum covalency of 4. Why it 4? First of all, we have ns2 np3 to be the configuration. So these 3 electrons, they can participate in bond formation because these 3 orbitals, they are going to be half filled, and these s orbital electrons, they can act as a lone pair and being donated to some other atom. So this is going to be, whenever this is going to be donated as a lone pair to some other atom, so there again a covalent bond will be formed, but this will be of a coordinate type. So this will be a coordinate covalent bond when the lone pair of nitrogen are going to be donated to some other atom, and then we will be having these three as the covalent bonds. So maximum nitrogen can show a +4 oxidation state. Wherever you will be seeing, we will be seeing compounds where nitrogen is showing +5 oxidation state also. Do not get confused, because in those cases it is actually not nitrogen which is showing a +5 oxidation state. When you are calculating it from the formula, okay, let me give you that. We have HNO3. Okay, so in HNO3 this is going to be -2, so this will be -6. Hydrogen will be +1, so nitrogen will come up to a +5 oxidation state when you are going to calculate it from the formula. But when we are going to draw the structure for HNO3, let me make that also. Okay, so if I make the structure for HNO3, we will be having a nitrogen. It will be having a double bond. It will be having a double bond. No, it will be having a single coordinate bond. So nitrogen will be sharing its electron pair, and then it will be one OH. Okay, so actually this hydrogen is forming a bond with oxygen. It is not forming a bond with nitrogen. Nitrogen is forming only 4 bonds. One, it is donating a lone pair to an oxygen atom. One, it is making a double bond with oxygen, and one oxygen, it is making a bond of the hydroxyl group. This is an HNO3. So we are seeing from the formula a +5 oxidation state, but actually nitrogen is not making 5 bonds. The maximum number of bonds nitrogen can make is going to be only 4. So nitrogen does not show an oxidation state of +5 because it does not have vacant d orbitals. Okay. Then the stability of the +5 oxidation state, this decreases down the group because of the inert pair effect. So it is going to be very clear now, no problems. For example, now we have the +5 oxidation state of bismuth to be less stable than that of antimony. So these are the questions which can be asked to you in the exam also, that why the +5 oxidation state of bismuth is less stable than that of antimony, or it is less stable than that of arsenic, or it is less stable than that of phosphorus. Okay, so that is going to be why, because of the inert pair effect. Down the group we see the inert pair effect. So the +3 oxidation states, they are more stable. The only well-known bismuth +5 oxidation compound is going to be bismuth fluoride. The reason I've already told you, that fluorine, now this being an electronegative atom, this is making bismuth move its s orbital electron into the d orbital. Okay. So now nitrogen and phosphorus, they also show an oxidation state of +4. Why +4? I have already explained to you. Nitrogen, first of all, the 3 p orbital electrons, they can participate, and the fourth one is going to be the lone pair. So similarly is going to be the case for phosphorus also. Both nitrogen and phosphorus, they can show a +4 oxidation state because of the availability of the lone pair on NH3 and PH3, which they can use to form a coordinate bond with the Lewis acids. Wherever they are going to be those compounds which will be electron deficient, the lone pair of nitrogen and phosphorus can be donated to them. Okay. Nitrogen exists in various oxidation states from -3 to +5. So nitrogen is going to be the only element from the group 15 which is available in all the oxidation states from -3 to +5. I'll just now show them to you also. And then phosphorus also exhibits +4 and +1 oxidation state in some oxoacids. What are oxoacids? So oxoacids are going to be those compounds where we will be having one central atom. Okay, so let that be, okay, say Z. And this Z is going to be having a bond with hydroxyl group. And this hydroxyl group is going to be such, obviously we are going to have a bond with the oxygen bonded to hydrogen, and this hydrogen, this can be donated as H positive. So when it is going to be H positive, it is going to be an acid, obviously it will be acting at, and it is oxoacid because it is oxygen containing, and we will be having just one atom apart from oxygen and hydrogen. This atom, this can be, it can be general formula as ZXOY and H. Okay, let it be Z. Okay, so Z, O and H, they can be varying in number, but a minimum requirement is that this Z atom should be attached to at least one hydroxyl group. Okay, so that is what we know as a oxo acid. For example, HNO3 is going to be an oxo acid, H3PO4 is going to be an oxo acid, H2SO4 is an oxo acid, and so on. So these are now the oxidation states of nitrogen. So nitrogen in the -3 oxidation state is seen in NH3, N2H4 hydrazine. I told you just now it is going to have a -2 oxidation state. NH2OH hydroxylamine -1 oxidation state. When nitrogen or any element in its elemental state, then the oxidation state is always going to be 0. So N2 has 0 oxidation state. Then we have the various oxides of nitrogen, where we will be seeing the plus oxidation states. So plus oxidation state, I've already told you, they are going to be only when the element is combining with another element which is more electronegative than it. So nitrogen in its electronegativity is the third element. Okay, so the highest electronegativity is of fluorine, then we have oxygen, and then we have nitrogen. So when nitrogen is going to be forming a compound with either fluorine or oxygen, then only you will be seeing the plus oxidation states of nitrogen. So that is why here you are seeing the plus oxidation states of nitrogen in all the nitrogen oxides. We are going to discuss in detail all these oxides. This is N2O, this is nitrous oxide, +1 oxidation state. Then we have NO, nitric oxide, this is going to be +2 oxidation state. Then we have N2O3, this is having a +3 oxidation state, N2O4, and also you can write over here NO2, because N2O4 is going to be a dimer of NO2, nitrogen dioxide. So this is a +4 oxidation state, and then we have N2O5, a +5 oxidation state. And you can write over here HNO3 also. So HNO3, we will be again seeing a +5 oxidation state. And now what I'm going to do is give you a have an edge section over here. What do we do in have an edge section? We put up something which is going to really help you excel in your examination. And today in this have an edge section, we are going to put out all the oxidation states that we have together. All right, so this will be really helpful to you for quickly revising your concepts. So -3 oxidation state can be shown all the group 15 elements, especially in the case of the hydrides. You can see the group 15 elements showing the -3 oxidation state, but the tendency to form the hydrides is going to decrease down the group. Because the -3 oxidation state tendency is decreasing down the group, the gaining of electrons becomes less, because we are going down the group. The metallic properties, they are increasing, the ionization enthalpy, they is going to decrease, the electronegativity values, they are decreasing. Okay, so I hope this is going to be clear to you. Then we have the -2 oxidation state that we see only in the case of nitrogen and phosphorus. Nitrogen in hydrazine, NH2 is going to show -2 oxidation state, and in diphosphine we are going to see phosphorus in the -2 oxidation state, but -1 oxidation state is going to be shown only by nitrogen in hydroxylamine, NH2OH. 0 oxidation state, again all of them, they are going to show in their elemental form. Nitrogen is going to exist as a diatomic molecule N2, phosphorus, arsenic, antimony as tetrahedral molecules, they are going to be tetraatomic, P4, AS4 and Sb4, and bismuth is a metal, so it will be just written as bismuth, Pi. Okay, and then we have the +1 oxidation state only being shown by nitrogen in N2O, that is nitrous oxide. +2 oxidation state again shown by nitrogen only in NO, that is nitric oxide. Then the +3 oxidation state we can see in case of all the group 15 elements from nitrogen to bismuth. And when we talk about nitrogen, nitrogen is the third most electronegative element. So whenever it is going to be showing the plus oxidation state, it is going to be when nitrogen is with a more electronegative element than itself. So that is going to be in the case, it is going to be forming a bond with either fluorine or with oxygen. Fluorine is the most electronegative, oxygen is the second most electronegative, and nitrogen is the third most electronegative element. So nitrogen is going to form only compounds with fluorine and oxygen in the plus oxidation states. So that is why as a reference we are just putting up the compounds with fluorine and oxygen over here. So they are going to form NF3, PF3, ASF3 and so on. And similarly nitrogen trioxides also, dinitrogen trioxide, sorry, so N2O3, P2O3 and so on. So all of these compounds, they are making these compounds. And then we have plus 4 oxidation state being shown only by nitrogen again. So this will be in NO2 and this is nitrogen dioxide, and also you can write over here in the bracket N2O4, which is a dimer of NO2. So there also we will be having the plus 4 oxidation state, and plus 5 is going to be shown in which oxide? It is going to be N2O5, dinitrogen pentaoxide. Okay, and similarly for the rest of the group 15 elements also, they are also going to show the plus 5 oxidation state. But what you have to remember that the plus 5 oxidation tendency is decreasing down the group. The stability of the plus 5 oxidation state is going to decrease down the group because of the inert pair effect. Perfectly fine. I hope this is clear. And the tendency of the plus 3 oxidation state is more for the elements which are lower down the group. Okay, now one very important thing over here, when we are going to form the compounds with fluorine, there is no nitrogen forming a plus 5 oxidation compound because nitrogen, this has a maximum covalency of 4. So it does not have d orbital, so it will not be finding NF5. Okay, that is what you have to remember very importantly. Rest all of them, they are forming fluorides in the plus 5 oxidation state. And there also I have told you very importantly, bismuth forms a fluoride in the plus 5 oxidation state. So this is one of the special compounds that we have for bismuth in the plus 5 oxidation state. All right, now the next important thing is that we have seen so many oxidation states for the group 15 elements, especially if I talk about nitrogen. You have seen that nitrogen is showing all the oxidation states from -3 to +5. So which are the oxidation states which are the most stable ones for nitrogen? Can you tell me that? Well, I do not know whether you know that or not, but well, the answer is that the lowermost and the highest most oxidation state, these are going to be the most stable. So what is going to be the most stable oxidation state for nitrogen? It is going to be -3 and +5. I will be just writing that down also. Okay. Now, but we have seen that nitrogen is also forming the compounds in the other oxidation states also. So when we are going to have nitrogen in those compounds, in those oxidation states which are less stable, then what happens? Well, those compounds, they are very reactive in nature and they are going to show a lot many reactions and a lot many compounds will be formed. And I have a very special type of reactions for those compounds which are having nitrogen in a less oxidation state, or you can say not in the -3 and the +5 oxidation state, neither the lowermost nor the highest most. In between, when nitrogen is having oxidation states, then what are the types of reaction that shows? So one type of very important reaction is going to be the disproportionation reactions. What are these disproportionation reactions? Well, these are those reactions where a molecule, an atom or an ion, this can at the same time be simultaneously oxidized or reduced and reduced, sorry, not or, it will be simultaneously oxidized also and reduced also. For example, nitrogen in the +1 and the +4 oxidation state, this tends to disproportionate in the acidic solution. So HNO2 is nitrous acid where we have nitrogen in the +3 oxidation state. It is going to form two compounds, one in a higher oxidation state and the other in a lower oxidation state. So it is going to form nitric acid in the higher oxidation state. Nitrogen is in +5 oxidation state, and in nitric oxide NO, we have the +2 oxidation state for nitrogen. Okay. So what do you remember? We remember that when nitrogen is not going to be either in the -3 oxidation state or the +5 oxidation state, it tends to disproportionate. Okay, and generally we see this disproportionation reactions when nitrogen is present in +1 to +4 oxidation states. And here you are seeing This is in +3 going on to +5 and +2. So when it is going from +3 to +5, it is losing electrons. Losing electrons means an oxidation is taking place. And when it is going to a lower oxidation state, it is gaining electrons. So a reduction is taking place. So simultaneously, it is getting oxidized also and reduced also. And such reactions, they are called as disproportionation reactions. You will be finding many of these disproportionation reactions in your group study, especially for the p block elements, and all of these, they are going to be really very important. Okay, so now one more thing, this is what we have for nitrogen. Similarly, when we talk about phosphorus, so all the intermediate oxidation states of phosphorus also, they tend to disproportionate into the +5 and the -3 oxidation state. Okay, so what do you remember? For phosphorus, whenever there is going to be a disproportionation reaction, the phosphorus compound, phosphorus will be going into +5 oxidation state and -3 oxidation state. Okay, so what, for example, we have phosphorus acid, H3PO3. So when this is going to disproportionate, it is going to go into forming a compound of the +5 oxidation state, that is phosphoric acid, and also simultaneously a compound in the -3 oxidation state, that is going to be phosphine. Clear? I hope it is not going to be difficult for you people to remember this, that we have disproportionation reactions when nitrogen and phosphorus, they are not in their highest or the lowermost oxidation states. Perfectly fine. Good. Now +3 oxidation state of arsenic, antimony and bismuth, they are stable. We know that because of the inert pair effect. So they do not show disproportionation reactions. So this is also one more thing that you will be remembering in relation to the disproportionation reactions. Okay. Now again, I have one more have an edge section for you. And what is this? Well, I am going to give you a trick to remember these disproportionation reactions of oxyacids. You have seen two reactions over here just now. One was the reaction of phosphorus acid forming phosphoric acid and phosphine, and the other was the nitrous acid forming nitric acid and nitric oxide. So how do you remember these products? Okay. So I'm going to give you a trick over here, and wherever these disproportionation reactions of the oxyacids will come, I will keep on making you revise this trick so that you always remember the trick and you mark the correct options in your examination. So the trick is, whenever we have a us acid, so a us acid is always going to be having a lower oxidation state than the ic acid. If you watch my lectures on the oxo acids, they are at present at the time of recording, although they will be coming up when we will doing the complete discussion of the group 15 elements also. But I've already uploaded tricks to remember the oxo acids of phosphorus in my lecture on inorganic made easy. So there you can have a detailed understanding of what do we mean by oxo acids, which is going to be an ic acid, which is going to be an us acid, and all that. So that will be really helpful to you. But here we have us acid. So for example, we have nitrous acid to be HNO2 and nitric acid is going to be HNO3. And in the us acid, you can see over here that we have +3 oxidation state, whereas in nitric acid, which is a ic acid, right? So ending in ic and ending in us. So the ic acid is always at a higher oxidation state than the us acid. Even if you just talk about the elements also, we have the same nomenclature for them also. For example, you have studied about ferrous and ferric, right? So Fe+2 is called as ferrous and Fe+3 is called as ferric, right? So always the us is going to be in a lower oxidation state than the ic. Okay, so now the us acid, whenever this is going to be present, or it is going to be an oxidation state which is less than the maximum oxidation state, what will be the product that will be formed is going to be higher oxidation state ic acid. So one product is confirmed. Whenever you have a lower oxidation state oxy acid, write down in the product side the ic acid, which is the highest oxidation state. Okay, so this is going to be greater than this. So you have found out. Okay, and the other product is going to be a lower oxidation state product. For example, you see over here NO is going to be formed, and in case of phosphorus, phosphine is being formed. But now the question is that for nitrous acid, we have NO also in a lower oxidation state. We have N2O also. So how are you going to predict? Or we can go into the negative oxidation states, like here phosphine is formed, why not ammonia is being formed over here? Okay, so how will you remember that product? That also I am giving you a trick over here to remember the lower oxidation product, and I have a mnemonic for that, so that you can remember that it will be +2 oxidation state for nitrogen. Okay, and the mnemonic is that 3 people, 1 chip pack, you can write over here. So 3 people, 1 chip pack, 2 nacho cup, but 0 shared. Okay, and what do I mean by this? Let me tell you that also now. So 3 people is going to be -3 for phosphorus, and 1 chip pack is going to be 1CH, you can say, for -1 for chlorine. So whenever we will be seeing an oxo acid of chlorine also in a lower oxidation state, and that is going to show a disproportionation reaction. So it will be forming one product to be of the higher oxidation state, ic acid, and along with that, the compound that it will be forming is going to be in the -1 oxidation state, that is going to be HCl. So in HCl, we have -1 oxidation state for chlorine. So I will be going to that when we will doing the group 17 elements. All right. And for nitrogen, it is going to 2N. So it is going to be +2 for nitrogen. And along with that, there is one more C over here, and that is going to be for carbon also. Okay. And 0 shared is going to be 0 oxidation state for sulfur. So whenever we will be having an oxo acid of sulfur showing a disproportionation reaction, the product that will be formed is sulfur in the elemental state. Okay, so this is how you will be remembering them. I will keep on telling you all this trick again and again when we will be doing the group 16 elements, so group 17 elements also. Okay, and there is one more mnemonic for the people who want to remember it in Hindi. So that is going to be 3 पुलिस, 3 पुलिस. Okay, I'll speak it in Hindi only now. So it is going to be 3 पुलिस, 1 चोर, दोनों नालायक करे जोर से शोर. So 3 पुलिस, 3, -3 for phosphorus, 1 chore, -1 for chlorine. Dono is 2, so +2 for nitrogen, and kare C for carbon, and zor 0. You can mnemonic remember it as 0 for zor, and shore is going to be sulfur. Okay, so this is how you can remember these reactions. I hope you will find them easy to remember it this way. Okay, so let's move on. Now, before we wind up this lecture, there is one more important thing that you have to remember regarding the maximum covalency. Maximum covalency of nitrogen, I have already discussed with you people also, that it is going to exhibit a maximum covalency of 4 because it cannot expand its valency. It does not have d orbitals, right? So it will be showing a maximum covalency of 4 where nitrogen, right? So it is having 2, 3, 4. So this is going to be one covalent bond it can form. This is the second covalent bond it can form. The third covalent bond form. And the fourth, whenever this lone pair of electrons is going to be utilized, it will be forming a coordinate bond. For example, you can see over here NH4 positive. So NH3 is going to be ammonia. When it is going to be forming a bond with H positive, it is going to be sharing this electron pair with hydrogen. Okay, so this is how NH4 positive will be formed. Similarly, we have CH3 NH positive, N positive. Okay, now phosphorus and all the other group 15 elements, they exhibit a maximum valency of 5 or 6 because of the presence of the d orbitals in the outermost shell. Therefore, they can expand their valencies. For example, we have PF5. So what will happen in PF5? We will be having phosphorus. Just let me wrap this out. So we have phosphorus 1, 2, 3, and then we will be having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 d orbitals. So this is going to be this 3, and this one goes over here. Okay, and when we are going to be having 5 half-filled orbitals, they can combine with the half-filled orbitals each of fluorine atom, and they are going to be forming forms. So we will be seeing PF5. Now also you can see PCl5 also being formed the same way, ASF5 also being formed as the same way, and then we have PF6 negative. Here we are seeing a covalency of 6. How will that 6 come? Well, what will happen is that if we have a fluoride ion, so fluoride ion is going to be having lone pair of electrons. Okay, so one of the lone pair, again, it can put into the d orbital, and therefore this is going to be the formation of the sixth bond that is going to be possible with the F negative. So we will be having the formation of PF6 negative and SPF6 negative in this way. Okay, so I hope this will be also clear, that maximum covalency of nitrogen will be 4. For phosphorus and all other group 15 elements, it will be a maximum covalency of 5 or 6. Perfectly fine. Great. So this brings me to the end of this discussion, but not the end of this lecture, because you all know that at the end I am going to always have some lecture review questions. The questions which are from the previous year examination, the question from NCERT exemplar, other competitive examinations, and if I am not able to find some question, I do put in them from myself, so that you just know what type of questions they are going to be important from this topic. All right, so question number 1, maximum covalency of nitrogen is going to be 3, 5, 4, 6. This is an NCERT exemplar question, and I hope you all know now the correct answer is going to be C choice. The maximum covalency of nitrogen is 4. It cannot go beyond that because of the absence of d orbitals. The next question is, elements of the group 15, they form compounds in the +5 oxidation state. However, bismuth forms only one well-characterized compound in the +5 oxidation state. The compound is B2O5, BiF5, BiCl5 or Bi2S5. This is a NCERT exemplar question. And the correct option is going to be B choice, bismuth fluoride, okay, in the +5 oxidation state. Although Bi2O5 is also formed, but this is not stable. Okay, so this is going to be unstable in the +5 oxidation state. The only well characterized compound is going to be bismuth fluoride. Okay, because bismuth is forming a bond with the most electronegative element of the periodic table. Perfectly fine. Good. So the next question is, which is a JEE Mains 2019 question, and a very easy one, the correct order of the oxidation states of nitrogen in NO, NO2, N2O3 and N2O is, and you have to write down the correct order from a lower oxidation state to a higher oxidation state. Well, the answer is going to be B choice. N2O is going to be having the +1 oxidation state, then NO will be having +2 oxidation state, N2O3 +3, and NO2 will be +4 oxidation state. So B option is going to be correct. I think this will be very easy for you people. So that would be all for this lecture. I hope you've enjoyed your learning with me, and you are going to look forward to the next lecture where we are going to talk about the chemical properties of the group 15 elements. Again, this is going to be a very, very important lecture. So please be with me. And for that, simply subscribe to the channel, click on the bell icon so that you get the notification the moment we put up the next lecture for you. We are putting up detailed courses for you. We are putting up small tricks for you. We are giving you the previous year examination questions. We are trying our level best and hope you are liking them also. Please do give your suggestions for something more from our side. So best of all, have a nice day. God bless you.